In Washington, Congress is getting ready for an intense few months in American politics as President Donald Trump continues to mount efforts that often test the Constitution, and Democrats grapple for traction with their voters demanding a fight back. Trump seems like a president in a hurry as he threatens to send National Guard troops into more Democratic-run cities, accelerates mass deportations, and takes new swings against the bureaucracy, which last week led to a purge of top scientists at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. From debates over the economy and foreign policy to the upcoming battles on Capitol Hill, the fall is shaping up to be a pivotal stretch in U.S. politics. With campaigns heating up and key decisions looming, what can Americans expect in the months ahead? Joining me now to break it all down is Sarah Selip, founding principal of 917 Strategies. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just start it. I mentioned there in the introduction kind of what Democrats have been talking about, which their kind of rhetoric is that Donald Trump is defying the Constitution. I think a lot of what he says is obviously just kind of sarcasm. And if you know Donald Trump, that's certainly something that he goes about doing quite frequently. But just to kind of begin here, what issues do you expect to kind of shape the fall? Obviously, it was a very busy spring. The summer didn't really die down in the way that political summers usually do. But what are you kind of expecting the fall to take shape as?
I honestly predict a lot more of what we saw in DC this summer. Since Trump deployed the National Guard to DC, there have been almost 1,600 arrests, and that's been like 3 weeks. So we need to see more of that across the country. But on top of tackling national crime and those issues that honestly could be started by a lot of international gang issues, there will be probably a lot about AI. With children's mental health, it is National Mental Health Month. So that should be probably ramping up, especially with the members of Congress coming in.
I'm curious that you mentioned AI, just because, of course, in Canada, where I'm talking to you from, most students are back in the classroom today. And, U.S. schools, most students went back to school not that long ago as well. You can talk about AI, obviously, in education settings, but certainly in government as well. But another question that happens to come up quite a bit has to do with regulation and how that should go about potentially happening. You had, of course, when the Big Beautiful Bill was presented, some Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, who had come out and criticized some of the components of that against regulating AI, and that was something that was mentioned in that bill. If that is going to be something that occupies kind of the political discourse moving forward, how do you kind of foresee politicians in particular responding to an issue that the public sentiment and public opinion on it just really is kind of, I guess, maybe too premature to draw any conclusions from?
Right. A lot of the issues that we're seeing with AI from a personal, not professional standard is that so many children are starting to use it as therapists. There have been really crazy stories coming out about it being therapists, some that honestly skew towards pedophilia and really disturbing sentiments like that. But I would not be surprised if this became Melania's time to shine. Children's issues have always been close to her heart. AI is at the forefront. And with Barron Trump being a sophomore in college this year, it should be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. But I would not be surprised if that becomes her big issue for year number 2.
And kind of transitioning to Congress coming back, we are kind of approaching the midterms, I guess. And Donald Trump, when he won in the 2024 election campaign, people weren't necessarily expecting him to win, but certainly not by the margin that he ended up winning by. In particular demographics as well, even if you look to how he performed with young people, if you look with, how he performed with certain minority communities as well, in large part the reason that he won the presidency. But there seems to be kind of, with respect to a number of, whether it be the geopolitical challenges overseas, whether it be Israel and Hamas, these are issues that it seems might be changing the public opinion on, especially from some of these, again, minority communities and what have you. Do you think that as we approach the midterms, how can Republicans kind of maybe adjust their messaging, or maybe they don't need to, but I guess kind of what's your take on that to continue to have kind of what they're saying resonate with people?
A lot of these come down to the idea that town halls need to happen. We should have been seeing town halls all over the place over the past 6 months, especially with Trump coming back into office and surprising everybody. But that being said, we do need to make sure that congressmen and their constituents are completely aligned on issues. Donald Trump was significantly more popular than anybody thought this past term, but he is out after this year. Whether the MAGA movement keeps going or not, that is yet to be decided. But
Mhm.
all politics are local, and it's smarter for the politicians to care about their people than their name on the door in Congress.
And people can say what they want, obviously, about the Republican movement. But one thing that's interesting is the Democrats haven't really been able to redefine themselves after losing the last election campaign. It seems as if they don't really have a kind of a defined leader. I mean, in American politics and the way the system works, it's not like Canada where there's a particular leader for each party. But I think it's safe to say that right now, anyways, Donald Trump and kind of the mega base as a whole is certainly leading the charge with the Republicans, whereas the Democrats don't really have a similar kind of angle going into the midterm elections. For Republicans, what is kind of I mean, again, from kind of like a political strategy standpoint, what is kind of the ideal kind of Democratic situation that you can go against as we approach the midterms?
Honestly, I think anything going as it is. I would not be surprised if Zoran Mamdani does become
Mhm.
the next mayor of New York City. I was just there. It's a little wild and crazy, but Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo going in as independents tells you as much as you need to know. New Jersey, Democratic versus Republican race for governor, must watch. And we all have to keep an eye out for the Virginia gubernatorial. But that being said, sources are telling me that AOC will likely ramp up as the 2028 Democrat nominee. So lots to watch. Just keep an eye on the pulse. And yeah, lots going on.
And I mean, you're a strategist yourself. I think in the last election campaign, what the Democrats tried to do that didn't end up working out successfully for them was tactics like bringing out celebrities to their campaign rallies to try and resonate with Gen Z, or, in a lot of cases, it was trying to secure celebrity endorsements. Those are things that Donald Trump did a little bit, but I don't think he necessarily relied on them in order to be successful in the election, whereas Democrats, that was kind of their main sole focus. Is that kind of a suggestion that certain demographics, are being stereotyped? Again, young people is an example of that, where the kind of political elite class, so to speak, tries to make, assertions as to what types of things they care about, when in reality, they just care about the issues and the same things as everybody else.
Democrats vote on emotion, look at everything they're complaining about right now, but Republicans vote on policy and people. Democrats are still playing cleanup from the last election. How many wasted millions of dollars went towards celebrity endorsements, where Trump had actual celebrities who believed in him and believed in the cause, not just wanting to be seen as voting for a Republican? It's not popular in the United States to come out as a Republican unless you're a Republican voter. So it makes sense. It's sexy. But even look at Gavin Newsom changing his social media strategy to mimic exactly what Trump is doing, exact sentence case, circling back, just like he uses a chat GPT prompt.
I wonder, obviously, the Epstein situation. I had talked to you about this in the middle of August as well, just because Donald Trump did campaign on releasing some of the Epstein files. And then, of course, he has released some of them, but they've been redacted, and there's just not a lot of clarity on that. You have, and this was one of the things before Congress broke for the summer, where you had some Republicans who were calling for Trump to release the files. And as a result, the president and the White House weren't really being too complimentary towards them. Not even just with Epstein, but whether it be tariffs, whether it be Israel and Hamas, whether it be Russia and Ukraine. These are things where you're starting to see some internal fractures amongst Republicans. Do you think that could be an issue for the president and for the White House as we kind of advance forward here again into the fall?
I could see that. However, infighting is actually really healthy for the Republicans. We have much more of a synonymous identity than we did the first time around. Everybody was elected on the MAGA movement. It wasn't just coming, well, the ones who were elected on the MAGA movement, there was something there for them to run on. Like, whereas last cycle, it was a little bit different when Trump was running. But that being said, it's just, it's a lot to see. Wait and see. I hate to say that. I wish I had an answer, but it's wait and see. And I think the people who are making the decisions are making the right decision for the company or for the country. And that's not popular, but we have no idea. And it's great to put on our tinfoil hats and stick to Twitter, but that's not helpful. And we just need to trust the people in charge.
With Congress resuming again, whether it be the Democrats or the Republicans, midterms are always something that, each party tries to get their best candidates in place. They try to kind of get like a uniform sense of messaging. I mean, you mentioned the Republicans and how internal fractures can be helpful for them. I don't know if the same can be said for the Democrats. They seem to have a lot of kind of different ideology, again, whether it be the Zohar Mamdanis of the world or the John Fettermans of the world. They have kind of polar opposites within the party. What are you kind of expecting on that front? About 30 seconds or so.
I hate to say it, but a lot of the old guard are dying off or retiring. Look at Feinstein, look at Jerry Connolly, rest in peace. He was a really nice guy. Nancy Pelosi is on her way out. So, that being said, there is going to be a change of guard. Look at Fetterman's switch to a more moderate side. We just have to make sure that we're sticking to the movement, sticking to the policy, and keeping our head up high. If we do that, we're going to win in 2026, 2028, and so on.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Sarah Sellop, thank you so much.
Thank you.